Very good afternoon. You're watching the newsroom right here on ET Now. I'm Ajay Sharma, and the markets are okay. The markets are just tipped off after a good session, almost 18,350 or thereabout. They have just tipped off as if, and they were gaining very smartly in trade. But overall, the momentum continues because FI buying is strong. We are also looking at numbers which are largely either in line to slightly on the positive side. In fact, dollar index has been on the lower side, so things are kind of accommodative and supporting. And guess what? Even the valuations of the overall market did undergo a reasonable amount of correction in the last few months when China had rallied a whole lot. So all of that coming together supporting the Indian markets. But we are putting the spotlight on the mid cap and the small cap section of the market. If you could just fire the BSE mid cap index or the small cap index over the 6-month period, you would see what kind of strength the smaller and the mid cap end of the market is displaying. We've got somebody, look at that, just darted away from March lows. Look at how the index is actually heading higher. And if you speak to strategists on ground, they will tell you that India actually is a bottom-up story and largely a mid-cap, small-cap story. So today, the market guest on our show today is a mid-cap, small-cap specialist. Abhishek Banerjee is joining us today. Abhishek, thank you very much for joining us. It's not very often that we have a lot of mid-cap, small-cap specialists who are joining us. So today, first of all, I'd like to understand why does this end of the market make more sense to you? Are there more alpha generating opportunities, but the risks also alongside? What do you think?
Well, glad to be here, Ajay, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to your audience. Firstly, let's understand how Indian small caps are different from global small caps, right? In India, we have a small cap index called small cap 50 or 100, whereas in US we have Russell 2000. So 2000 stocks in US make the small cap index in US, whereas only 50 or 100 stocks make up the index in India. But in India, there are about roughly 5,000 listed companies if you combine BSE and NSE, and maybe about 15 to 1,800 actively traded listed companies. So if you look at the difference in universe, what the index represents and what the opportunity set is, it's hugely divergent as compared to US, where it's 2,000 stocks, and also US is about roughly 5,000 stocks of listed stocks. So that's the India story to begin with. But more importantly, what small caps are able to do in a especially difficult macro environment like we are in, where we have geopolitical uncertainties, we have divergence of central banks operating in different kinds of monetary regimes. You'll see that small caps, they are sort of micro monopolies of their own, which focus on a very niche market where they dominate, actually are industry leaders in that specific market. So overall, what you can do with small caps is, you can isolate yourself a little bit from the global macro headwinds that might be faced by the larger cap companies, because they could be international borrowers in the market, or they could have a lot of international investments coming in from different FIIs, whereas small caps are mostly domestic stories where they have dominant domestic investors. So that's really the key difference. But overall, of course, what we all know that over a 10-year period, what you will see is GDP and large caps have the same kind of CAGR. It is a well-documented academic feature that small caps give you about 2 to 3% over a 10-year period over large caps, and a good strategy should give you a little more on top of that, and a very good strategy can add significantly more. So that's really the story here. But of course, in the context of individual stocks, the stories are quite different. They are very exciting and unique stories that are available in Indian markets.
Abhishek, I want to also, before I talk to, I talk about reference businesses which you are studying right now, I want to understand how much is the small cap, mid cap space fraught with risks, be it liquidity risks, be it the execution risks of the management, be it the cycles, and if you are getting in at the top of the cycle, then you'll actually exit at the bottom of the cycle, whereas the actual the thing should be just the opposite. What are the risks accompanied with small cap, micro cap kind of investing?
It's extremely risky, right? So these are, if you look at the sub 1,000 crore market cap universe, there are about 3,000 different companies that are available in India. The main risk is that if you're small, you are, you have less people who have oversight. A small company you know, there are usually few decision makers, and therefore the chance that something can go wrong very quickly is very high. So the smaller in the market cap spectrum you go, the riskier the company is likely to become. So, you know, one of the ways, ways you can mitigate this risk is you can depend on people who have a lot of reputation to lose, who are also on the boards of these small companies, who are also, you know, probably advising as independent directors of large companies. So, you know, you can bank on the reputation of people, the people who are governing this management, who can go wrong on a because of few people making decisions, or the fact that they are small and they don't have a lot of verifiable data that is put out in the public domain in terms of reports. Whatever is put out is might not be sufficient, and you might end up doing a little bit of scuttlebutt investing. But overall, yes, it is a risky proposition. Therefore, you know, this is usually a satellite kind of allocation to your portfolio. It cannot, for a, you know, moderate risk outlook, you cannot have this as a dominant position in your portfolio.
Abhishek, what is the corporate governance quotient of the small cap, micro caps in India? Or you think that because there is such a lot of technology, tax compliance, regulatory compliance by authorities, all of that, so the scenario on corporate governance is actually improving a whole lot as well compared to how it used to be a few decades back?
Certainly, I think, you know, if you look at the recent conjecture that even the company secretaries and chartered accountants will be brought under the ambit of PMLA, there is intent from the regulatory side to, you know, make people accountable on what they report. So therefore, definitely, you know, there is improved compliance, and it will keep on improving. Of course, we have to remember that listed companies are far more compliant and far more organized than unlisted players on an average, right? So you're already talking about people who are almost always doing the right things, and therefore, you know, we are sort of in a more, you know, compliant universe to begin with compared to private companies, where, you know, they have a lot more discretion and what they report and who they report to and so on. That said, I think, you know, corporate governance is key. You know, for example, how independent is the board is a key metric that we look at, because independent board means, you know, difference and divergence of opinion, and usually such divergence in opinion make teams robust, right? They debate with each other and they come to a conclusion that is, you know, much more robust than few people making few decisions. So that's how we look at corporate governance.
Right. Okay, let's talk about some of the businesses which you are studying. I won't even refer to the stocks, but I want to understand Vedant Fashions. You know, ethnic wear is becoming an organized play in India. There are many stocks which have some part of the business, but this is the one company which came out with solely focusing on ethnic wear and marriage wear and, you know, occasion wear, if I may say so. What did you like about this business model? How big can it become? What are the prospects?
No, so this is a classic story of a good entrepreneur, right? This gentleman, Mr. Ravi Modi, he started this business in roughly 1,000 square feet area, and in within few years he had like 600 different exclusive business outlets. It was a, you know, trailblazing growth that he was able to govern and deliver. And obviously, if you look at what is happening in the wedding scenario, more and more young people are actually much more sort of available to wear ethnic wear. I mean, instead of, you know, looking at suits or sort of, you know, Western wear, the current Gen Z is more keen to celebrate what is Indian fashion, and I think that large trend from a large consumer base, it has benefited a company like this. We keep talking about startups trying to go global. This gentleman already went global. He has outlets in Dubai, US, and so on, and few other countries in Central Eastern Asia and different parts of the world. So, what this it is all about, this entrepreneur who has had the vision that, you know, there he could kind of figure out that he was able to, you know, people are moving towards Indian fashion from purely Western fashion in the celebratory occasions or in, you know, weddings, and he was able to execute and capitalize on that well. Of course, you know, one thing we have to remember, it's one specific product and one category of fashion, but he has created multiple brands who have multiple appeal. So it's a brand bouquet. It's a, you know, good execution. It's a global presence. Few global presence again means more regulatory oversight, from the different businesses that are globally present. So, in the gist of it, it's a very exciting story that it's just illustrative of how a good entrepreneur can bring about, a fast business and a growing business.
Abhishek, technology usually in market parlance, we refer to, the typical, the kind of software companies and all of that. But there is also a part of technology listed universe in India, which is really looking at sunrise part of telecom related technology, consumer tech. But here we are focusing on the telecom part of technology. Nelco is also a business which you are studying. The Tata backed, very few know that it's actually a Tata's backed company and is now looking at making big strides towards consumer satellite, broadband, all of that. What makes you excited about this business?
What's funny about this business is actually one of the businesses that was instituted pre-independence of India. Just imagine, before India became an independent country, this business was present, and now it's trying to compete with the likes of Elon Musk and Starlink, right? So it's gone from being sort of like a pre-independence company to being competing with cutting edge technology. So what we are studying about this company is that they have different kinds of fashions, different kinds of licenses that make them suitable to offer consumer internet to different players. So for example, they are one of the few players that can offer in-flight internet. Let's talk about the airlines industry a bit, right? You see constantly how engine efficiency and fuel efficiency is important, and what we have seen in long haul flights is there's a huge box which has a entertainment system which kind of interferes with the way you put your legs on the seat. But can you not think about a regime where these airlines have flat, leaner seats which have more space efficiency, but everybody carries their own device, and if you have internet on flight which you can consume as a consumer, you can kind of take care of your entertainment, and the airlines can take care of the cost by bringing about more efficiency. Just one example of how use cases of companies like this can play out. Therefore, of course, they recently also looked at consumer internet, but they have actually decided to put that on hold for a bit because they're trying to study a new consultation paper and a draft policy that has come out from DOT around pricing and business models. So it's definitely an interesting space. So we kind of keep watching out for companies like this. Therefore, we are looking at what stories are there that are actually cutting edge, again, micro monopolies that can deliver, can execute, and so on.
Interesting to see that the market is just not paying any attention to this one as of now, and probably that's the opportunity because it hasn't done anything for a year, almost for 2 years. The last business which I would like to understand from you is about TVS Electronics. Great group, but the business, how the prospects looking here?
So, the opportunity to export electronics, what has been demonstrated by mobile phones is just playing out. PLI, electronics manufacturing, they have been, those steady businesses, steady heads, generating cash flow, servicing a B2B segment, doing well governed. So, breakouts in consumer space is a possibility, and, they have a long track record. One thing which I've learned, over the 15 years that, I've been looking at markets is, hard to change facts, right? Things which are hard to change, if you can verify them, long track record, are some of the key ingredients that make up a great franchise. And, these, TVS Electronics, for example, tends to demonstrate those aspects when we research them.
Is that a Bloomberg terminal or some screen behind you? Because you're actually a research / value investor, right? Why would you have a day trading kind of a terminal behind you? Just guess.
It's a terminal, of course. We keep looking at it's more relevant data. So yes.
Just kidding. So that was Abhishek Banerjee, but I must also tell you on his behalf that the businesses he spoke about are not stock recommendations, but businesses which he's studying right now. So please do consult your financial advisor if you aim to do any action on that. All right, Abhishek, great chatting. Thanks so much for your time today.